Good morning, everyone. It's Thursday morning. Thought I'd do a video blog for you as we have an interesting day unfolding across the valley. Some of us had close to an inch worth of rain overnight with an initial line of showers and storms that moved through. That was with the leading edge of the really humid air. And you step outside this morning, of course, it feels a lot different than the last couple of days. The dew points are through the roof. It is back to this very tropical air. It is 9:14 when I recorded this, and this is what the current situation is. It's quiet and still fairly cloudy. I'm going to plot up the dew points for you as well, show you how high those have gotten overnight. Now, the clouds this morning are good news if we don't want severe weather later today, but I'll show you in a second. I think the clouds are going to break before too much longer. Dew point temperatures this morning rising through the 70s. Let me turn on the smaller font, actually, a little easier to see. We have a 72-degree dew point at the Youngstown Warren Airport. So yeah, it's getting muggy out there. The clouds are eventually going to part, and we do have a cold front off to our north and west. That front is going to run into the increasingly hot and humid air across the region later on today, and that could lead to some thunderstorm issues. First of all, let's talk about the clouds. I'm going to show you our short-range model here. High-resolution rapid refresh is what we call this model. And it still has it pretty cloudy all the way up through noon. Here's then, as we get into the afternoon, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, notice increasing amounts of sun. And that's going to allow the temperature to shoot up as well, as we expect temperatures this afternoon to get well into the 80s, probably 86, 87 degrees on average before the afternoon is through. So things are going to get more unstable and hotter this afternoon, even though it looks kind of murky out there first thing this morning. Now, as far as the severe weather threat, here's a look at the Storm Prediction Center, part of the National Weather Service. Here's their outlook for today. Notice they have a yellow area kind of hatched in northern Ohio into northwest PA. That's what we call the slight risk of severe weather. Now, slight can be kind of a deceiving term. Actually, slight is one of their kind of mid-range categories. It's a step above marginal. All these words can be kind of confusing, but the bottom line is slight is something that gets our attention in the weather world when we're under a slight risk of severe weather. It means that the chances are higher than a typical summer day of some type of severe weather. Well, what are the threats then? The number one threat, I think, is a damaging wind gust with these storms later today. Notice the Weather Service has a 15% contour in the yellow across the region. That means there's a 15% chance of a damaging wind gust within 25 miles of any spot. Not much of a hail threat. Now, could there be some small hail in any storm later today? Yeah, but severe hail doesn't seem real likely. The Weather Service and the Storm Prediction Center does have a 2% contour here for a tornado within 25 miles of any spot across our region. Now, yesterday we had kind of a surprise tornado outbreak in Indiana, northwest Ohio. Now, conditions here are not the same as they were to our west last evening, but there is enough turning of the wind aloft that the strongest storms might try to exhibit a little rotation, and that means there's a small, very small chance of an isolated tornado. But again, it's a higher chance than just a typical summer day with spotty thunderstorms. So we can't 100% rule out a tornado with this. Now, what about the timing? Now, we have a few high school football games this evening. Of course, most of the action's tomorrow evening, but we have a few games this evening. And if you have outdoor plans, here's a look at the timing of things. I think we're largely dry through about dinner time. We've got a cap in the atmosphere. In other words, a warm layer of air a few thousand feet above our heads. That helps stop upward motion in the atmosphere. But that cap will eventually break. Now, the latest runs of the high-resolution model here kind of poo-poo the activity. This is 7 o'clock this evening. Notice this doesn't look all that impressive. Not sure if I trust this just yet. I think I kind of suspect there's going to be more activity than is shown here on the model at 6, 7 o'clock this evening. But this is about the time that I think our chances are increasing for some showers and storms. Right around 7, 8 o'clock into 9 o'clock. Here's 9 o'clock this evening. Again, the model's not real impressive, but I'm not sure I buy this just yet. It'll be interesting to see if the next couple of hours, this model updates once an hour. It'll be interesting to see over the next couple of hours if this ramps things back up, because the ingredients are certainly there. Now, do we have enough instability by the time this front approaches this evening and we're past the hottest part of the day? That's perhaps a limiting factor, but it is something that we're going to certainly keep a close eye on. So prime time here is, I think, 6, 7 o'clock through 9, 10, 11 o'clock at the latest this evening for damaging winds, perhaps an isolated tornado, and also a threat will be torrential rains in any of these storms. Now, they'll be moving along at a decent clip, but there's a ton of moisture in the atmosphere, So these could really wring out some healthy amounts of rain in a short amount of time. The ground is already a little bit wet from our inch of rain that some of us had last night. All right, more updates, of course, throughout the day. We'll be keeping an eye on things around the clock. Candace is in the studio this morning, and I'll be in early this afternoon. And if you're not following me on Twitter, be sure and do that. I'm Eric, WFMJ. I will see you tonight also on 21 News at 6. Have a great rest of this Thursday.